Okay, we're recording. I have to switch over from using my smartphone to using this external camera on the laptop, and I've been putting a little bit of time in on this, what the Lord showed Chuck Youngbrants concerning the third year of the timeline, and today I actually came across more information that makes the third timeline extremely relevant, and maybe I can just show you this here, if you can see it. I'll try to get this. You can see where it talks about the 3 days of darkness coming, and what I'll do is I'll include a snapshot of this so you can actually follow through. So when you get this video, just print out a snapshot of this, and then you can follow what the Lord's been showing me. But anyway, in the first and second videos, I've been bringing out what's going to take place in the third year of the timeline, and what the Lord showed Chuck Youngbrants. So we know that on what he was shown, that was on the 5th of July, that the new Madrid is going to take place, okay? And that's going to result in the death of 26 million people. And just prior to that, this event here will be a direct result of America dividing Jerusalem. So this is the judgment upon America, the new Madrid's fault. God's going to divide America. But preceding that, in order for that to take place, you would have to have the Psalms 83 war. That's where the man of peace comes on the scene. This war breaks out in Israel, and Jerusalem is bombed. Neville Johnson, he was shown this by the Lord when he was in Jerusalem. Jesus came to him and showed him the city, and the bombs were falling. And so we know that war is going to break out in Jerusalem, and the Psalms 83 war, they're not going to win, that Israel's going to be overtaken. This is quite evident from what other people were being shown. So the man of sin is going to rise up. We saw this back in 1986. A group of us young people in Winnipeg were praying and fasting, and the Lord showed the Psalms 83 war breaking out. I didn't know at the time that it was this event, and we saw the United States involved in the Middle East. It went from land, air to sea. All the United Nations were involved, and there's 3 bombs of what was seen was 3 bombs of mass destruction. Didn't know whether they were nuclear or biological. 2 got taken out by the Iron Dome, and the 3rd one got through and was headed toward Tel Aviv. Right after that, Israel took out Damascus. As soon as those bombs came across their threshold, they launched a strike against Damascus. Damascus was gone. But in the end, what this brought forth was we saw the man of sin rise up, this man of peace, and he brought peace to the Middle East. And in doing so, the result was that America was tripped or put into a catch-22 situation between a rock and a hard place, where she did not defend, gave up Jerusalem as a 2-state solution. So we know that it's going that direction. So in lieu of this, God pours out his judgment upon America, and this has to do with the 3 days of darkness. And if you go back and read what, this was first shown by Ephraim Rodriguez. He saw the East Coast destroyed. He saw a 12.0 earthquake hit Puerto Rico at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it caused, I think it was a 1,000-foot tidal wave. And it took out the southern part of Florida at 5 o'clock. Then the tsunami worked its way around to the backside of the eastern seaboard, worked its way up there, and the water came in for the most part 100 miles, and it took out, there's, I believe, it was 22, 23 million. A lot of people perished. Well, we can see from this that the 3 days of darkness is the judgment that's coming upon the world, not just America. This darkness would be all around the world, and from what, and this would be caused from an asteroid that's going to hit Puerto Rico, and it's going to cause the Earth to basically to stand still for 3 days, and this is where the 3 days of darkness comes. It's going to hit the Puerto Rico Trench. This is going to cause a fault line, a fracture to go up into New Orleans and all the way up into the Great Lakes and up into Hudson Bay. So this is the fracture that is developed before the New Madrid. So when the New Madrid happens, the Mississippi will widen to many, many miles, and there'll be total destruction along the Mississippi and the Great Lakes. 26 million will die in the Great Lakes, and this is what Augusto Perez, what Chuck Youngbrants saw. When Augusto Perez, he has shown concerning the 3 days of darkness that it is that this has to happen before the Antichrist is ushered in. It also, the 3 days of darkness signals the final Exodus, and this is very important. The final Exodus. The darkness comes before the Exodus. And also at the same time, it's the unveiling of the sons of God. So the sons of God are going to stand up in the midnight hour. They're going to stand up during these 3 days of darkness. So 3 days of darkness is just, you can't fit anywhere. It has a specific time. So we know that it's going to happen prior to the New Madrid, prior to World War III breaking out in America. And now, if I go back to the visions that the Lord showed me, if the 7 open visions, if they take place in the 3rd year of this timeline, you have to remember that it's not what I saw, it's what the Lord allowed me to hear, that I heard the audible voice of the Antichrist declare a time of great persecution against the world. And this dinosaur that's still up out of the water in Departure Bay, I'm trying to talk slower here for you guys, for you Americans. I saw T-Rex stand up in Nanaimo in the Departure Bay there, the ferry terminal. And that was a sign that the beast was about to rise up out of the sea. So this coincides with the 3 days of darkness, that it is the official sign that the beast is about to come on the scene. So what the Lord showed me was what happened just prior, whether it's going to be the 3rd year timeline where this happens. But basically it would have to be, I don't think that the Lord would launch a warning like this in the 2nd year timeline of Chuck's events, but it would have to be just prior. And also, if you look at another, you look at what Terry Bennett was showing of the angel of the Lord, the 21-year timeline, that the 21-year timeline, the 3rd set of 7s, begins at the end of 2021, the beginning of 2022. And so this fits in, that if 2020 is the beginning of the first year of the timelines, right? So we're going to have to watch for the New Orleans event and the earthquake and the 4 cities that's going to get taken out in the month of December. That's going to establish the first year of the timeline, and from that we can establish the rest. So if next year is the start of Chuck Youngbrants' timeline, then we can say that the end of 2021, 2022, the beginning of it, could well be the time where the 7 open visions, the Lord will send me back up to Canada to bring forth His final warning. In the visions, I haven't mentioned this before. These visions happened back in 1988, a long time ago. But anyway, when the visions took place, if I stood back and looked at it, it seemed as if this was the opening of the 6th seal. It seemed like the Lord took me just before the opening of the 6th seal. So this 3 days of darkness is the opening of the 6th seal, where the earth is handed over to Lucifer for a time, right? To usher in the mark of the beast, and with 144,000 come on the scene and things like that. So it seems like what Terry Bennett saw about the 3rd set of 7s coming in at the end of 2021. There is some, seems to be so. So this could well be the time that the Lord sends me back up to Canada. And I know in the vision I was busy. I was with my wife. I was married at the time. I'm not married now, but I was with my wife. We were busy doing final preparation work as far as building the place of refuge. I don't know where, but we we had to take a break, right? I needed a break from the work, and we went to Bangs, Texas. It seemed like a spring revival, and that's where the man of God sent me out. It was imperative. There was no arguing the point that I had to go and bring forth this warning. So it could be that the Lord is raising me up to bring forth or to make an early warning of the 6th seal, to proclaim the 6th seal event, to proclaim the 3 days of darkness, to get ready. In the visions, if the 3 days of darkness had already happened, it would have been evident, because it's going to bring a total catastrophic change over the face of the earth. It's going to bring a lot of destruction. And Augusto Perez, he brings a lot of this out. He is saying that like I said before, that the darkness comes before the Exodus. And we know that in the 7 visions there was an Exodus, and I knew in the spirit that this Exodus was happening worldwide. So everything seems to be coming together here. And today I just started listening to what the Lord showed Ephraim Rodriguez, and the pieces started to drop in place. So it's not that we have to prepare for the New Madrid event or World War III so much as preparing for the time where God's going to allow the earth to be ushered into the 7 final years, right? We're going to have to prepare for that. And so that's what I'm bringing you, on this being point blank, and that we need to be ready to stand when the 3 days of darkness comes, when the asteroid hits the earth, bringing in the 3 days of darkness. Ephraim Rodriguez did say that he has an added revelation, that he's waiting for a specific event to happen before he makes and it comes on the scene one more time. And I believe that event is the Psalms 83 war. So when the Psalms 83 war takes place, that he's going to make an announcement of the 3 days of darkness. And so we're going to have to be ready for that, because it's not just the arrival of the man of sin, where he comes on the scene. It's the arrival of a great time of darkness, where the portals of hell are going to be opened up. It's a time that the Nephilim are going to come on the scene, right? The Nephilim are going to be unveiled during the 3 days of darkness. And it makes sense. If you look at it overall, if God's going to usher in both the kingdom of light, the final 7-year period is where both the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light is unveiled, right? And there's a leading up to that point. We are in that place where God's raising up his kingdom, and Satan's raising up his kingdom, but there will be a time where both will be unveiled. So these last 7 years have to do with the unveiling of the man of sin, but also the unveiling of the sons of God, the 144,000 or whatever, right? So we need to prepare ourselves for this time. And if we're not prepared during this final plague, because it is the final plague, that was in Exodus. It was after the 3 days of darkness that in Egypt that the Exodus began, right? So we know that all these places of refuge would have to be built prior to this time. This must be the time that God would bring the woman into the places of refuge, right? For 3.5 years, I believe. So all this preliminary work is going to have to be built. So I'm just going to leave it here. You need to study out, go back and look up the videos of what the Lord showed Ephraim Rodriguez, Augusto Perez, 3 Days of Darkness, Neville Johnson, what he was shown, Terry Bennett, about the 21 years. But it all fits in. And this is also a time that remember the Lord gave a poem many years ago, and he talked about the death toll of the bell, that souls, we must do what we can before the death toll of the bell begins. So it seems like 2022 may well be the year that the death toll of the bell will sound, and it will start with the death of 3 million people in Vancouver, right? That'd be like an announcement to the world that God's going to use what's going to take place in Vancouver Island. The Vancouver Island's going to be like a bell in his hand to announce the 6th seal and the 3 days of darkness and the rising up of the man of sin, and also the unveiling of the sons of God, because we know that all of creation awaits the unveiling of the sons of God. Okay, I'm just going to give you a quick preview of this year. The light's not the best, so you can actually see what I've been talking about. Alright, I'm going to end it here and get this uploaded.